Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I am Dr.
I am
Rajesh.
Dr.
I'm
Rajesh. I'm
a gastrointestinal surgeon
gastroenterologist surgeon
and medical
and
director
medical
at the
director
International
at the
Modern
International
Hospital.
Modern Hospital.
First of all, let
First of
me
all, let
welcome you
me
all to
welcome you
this
all to
webinar
this
hosted
webinar
by our
hosted by
orthopedic
our
and
orthopedic
physiotherapy
and
team.
physiotherapy team.
During this
During this
COVID-19
COVID-19
crisis, the
crisis,
world
the
and the
world
medical
and the
fraternity
medical
has had a
fraternity
very
has had
difficult
a
time.
very difficult time.
So academics
So
have taken a
academics
back
have
seat.
taken a back seat.
This was actually
This was
planned
actually
to
planned
be a very
to
big
be a very
conference,
big
but
conference,
unfortunately
but
we had to
unfortunately we had
cancel
to
due to the
cancel
current
due to the
crisis.
current crisis.
So now we are
So
holding
now
this
we are
webinar
holding
to
this
connect
webinar to
with you
connect
again.
with you again.
Thank you all for
Thank you all
attending
for
this
attending
conference.
this conference.
We have an
We
excellent
have an excellent
orthopedic and
orthopedic and
physiotherapy department.
physiotherapy department.
We have two
We
very
have two
dynamic
very
orthopedic
dynamic
surgeons
orthopedic
who can
surgeons who
tackle
can tackle
all facets of
all
orthopedic
facets of
surgery,
orthopedic
such
surgery,
as
such as
arthroscopies, joint
arthroscopies, joint
replacement, and spine
replacement, and
surgery.
spine surgery.
We have an
We
excellent
have an excellent
physiotherapy team
physiotherapy
who
team
are very
who
good
are very
and
good
they have a very
and they
busy
have a very
department.
busy department.
So I am
So
hoping
I'm
that we can
hoping that
interact
we
with
can
you all
interact with you
time and
all
time
time
again.
and time again.
I thank you all
I
once
thank you
again
all
for
once again
attending this
for attending
conference.
this conference.
Thank you all very
Thank you
much.
all very much.
I'm sure they
I'm
have prepared
sure
an
they've
excellent
prepared an
session.
excellent
So
session.
without much
So
delay,
without much
I'll hand
delay,
over the
I'll hand
proceedings
over
to
the
them.
proceedings to them.
Thank you very much.
We'll start. Okay, we'll discuss about patellofemoral pain syndrome. So we'll look on a definition of patellofemoral pain syndrome, then anatomy and biomechanics of patellofemoral joint, and some points regarding the risk factors, the causes of patellofemoral pain, and the clinical examination, the clinical diagnosis and all will discuss, and some recommendation for management and all. Along with that, we will discuss about evidence-based practice. So patellofemoral pain syndrome, usually people feel usually in the front portion of the knee, usually with those who are doing a lot of sports activities like running, jumping and all. Patellofemoral pain syndrome can be defined as retropatellar pain or prepatellar pain syndrome that causes in the front portion or the back portion of the knee, in and around the knee joint. The pain mostly occurs when the knee is under load while climbing stairs, squatting, running, and cycling kind of activities. So that time there will be a more load on the knee joint. So that's why patient feels more pain on the knee joint. The incidence is 11 to 17% of knee pain presentation in our normal clinical setup. It's with the patellofemoral pain syndrome, and we can see a 25% to 40% of all knee pain problems in sports injury is related to patellofemoral pain. So it's usually most common in the second and third decade of our adolescent age, and it's most affected in the female than compared to the male counterparts. It's mainly because of the anatomical structure difference in the female because of wide pelvis or Q angles or the hormonal changes in the woman. So patellofemoral pain syndrome is also known as retropatellar pain syndrome. It's called even a patellofemoral stress syndrome. Even its progress, it's called a chondromalacia, degenerative changes or thinning of the cartilage of patella. Sometimes it's called a Renes knee or a lateral facet compression syndrome. So we'll discuss about the anatomy and biomechanics of patellofemoral pain syndrome. The patello usually acts as a lever to improve the function of quadriceps, and it's creating momentum during the activities. Contact of the patella with the femur is usually initiated at 20 degrees. So it's start the patella having more contact with the femur at a 20 degree of flexion, and it increases further with the knee flexion. So at a maximum contact with the femur, it will be at around a 90 degree of knee flexion. So that's why the people, those who are squatting or climbing stairs, those who feel pain over the patella. The stability of the patellofemoral joint is usually given by the static stabilizers and the dynamic stabilizers of the patella. The static stabilizers, what we can see, the articular capsule, the femoral trochlea, the girth of the femoral trochlea, and the medial and lateral retinaculum, and the patellofemoral joint. So the medially is given by the stability is given by the medial retinaculum, and the lateral retinaculum by the lateral side, and the patellofemoral ligaments. So we will see about the dynamic stability of the patellofemoral joint. So we can see the quadriceps comes over the patella and attaches. It attaches on the patella, base of the patella, and by a quadriceps tendon, and it attaches to the tibia from the patella ligament. So one side its vastus medialis is given by support on the medial side of the patella, and the vastus lateralis is given the lateral stability of the patella along with the IT band, iliotibial band. So if any of the tightness or weakness of the muscles which cause instability of the patella with the activities. The VMO is the only muscle that provides a medial force during the activity, and it stabilizes the patella. So the weakness of VMO is usually cause a tracking of patella towards the lateral side along with the tightness of the vastus lateralis muscle or the IT band. So we can see the patellofemoral compressive force in the knee joint. So we can see here, once the knee flexion increases, the force on the patellofemoral joint increases. So a large amount of quadriceps activity is required to prevent a knee buckling by climbing stairs or squatting down activity. So it's again increases pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So if you will see a patellofemoral joint reaction force, so normally while walking you can see 5.5 times of the body weight, but once you squat down or jogging kind of activities, it's 6 times more than your body weight. So that's why in jogging or any sports kind of activity, the patellofemoral pain syndrome is more common. So we'll discuss about risk factors for patellofemoral pain syndrome. So the risk factor is hypoplasia of the medial patella facet or patella alta. So maybe in some cases the patella is shifted to the little higher. So in that cases and all, it will put more pressure on the patellofemoral joint. Or otherwise the hypoplasia is some poor development of the medial patella facet. That also it's put more pressure on the patellofemoral joint, and it's caused a instability of the patellofemoral joint. So another risk factors is the malalignment or altered biomechanics of the lower extremity in especially foot pronation, over foot pronation or rear foot eversion. In some cases with collapsed arch, or in some cases with increased Q ankle. So that and all we can see in some cases. Those who identify with the patellofemoral pain syndrome. So the muscle dysfunction included quadriceps weakness. So we can see VMO weakness in some cases, or improper firing pattern of the quadriceps group muscles. And another thing is patella hypermobility, the tightness of the vastus lateralis or the lateral side group, IT band, or the tightness of vastus lateralis and all will cause hypomobility of the patella, and the weakness of even VMOs and all cause hypomobility of the patella. And another risk factors is patella malalignment, transition or rotational deviation of the patella, mostly characterized with the tilted or laterally displaced patella due to the weakness. So abnormalities like patella alta or baja in some cases also increases the, so these are the malalignment of patella joint patella shifted to the, either it's higher, little higher is called patella aja, or maybe shifted to little lower is called the patella baja. So these and all will put excessive pressure on the knee joint, or either it will cause a instability of knee joint, patellofemoral joint. So excess patellar tilting laterally can lead to patella media hypomobility. So it's usually due to the tightness of vastus lateralis or the IT band, resulting in high stress between the lateral facet of the patella and the lateral trochlea. So there will be a more contact towards the lateral trochlea, even the squatting or jumping kind of activity or straight climbing. So that time and there will be a more contact on the lateral trochlea of the femur because of the tightness of lateral structures. So the repeated pressure on this region increases the pain. So here we can see the lateral shifting of the patella. So here you can see the tilted patella spin. So it causes because of the force. So it's tilted, and it will cause the instability of the patellofemoral joint. So in the picture you can see the third one. So you can see a increased lateral tilt towards the increases tilt of the patella towards the lateral side. So there will be a more contact on the lateral facet area. So it causes pain on the lateral facet area. So another risk factors that we discussed earlier. So like the medially, the stability is more usually given by the medial vastus medialis obliquus, but if you will see the lateral, the attachment of vastus lateralis and IT band. So the tightness or imbalance between these vastus medialis obliquus and vastus lateralis will cause instability of the patella, and it will increases the pain on patellofemoral joint. So even the VMO, poor firing of the VMO, so the early firing of vastus lateralis or the poor firing of VMO also increases the pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So the repeated pressure is slowly causes erosion and degenerative changes on the patellar cartilage, and it will lead to a chondromalacia patella. So the another muscle group is the IT band tightness. So as we discussed, the tight IT band places excessive lateral force on the patella and can also externally rotate the tibia, and it's upsetting the balance of patellofemoral mechanism. So IT band tightness, again, it will rotate the tibia and it will put more pressure on the patellofemoral joint by tracking the patella towards the lateral side. So even a CT is showing a 20 degree of lateral tilt, even with the knee extension in the case of lateral tightness of the tightness of IT band. So another muscle group is the tight hamstring. So tight hamstring, it will cause more pressure on the knee joint because of it to compensate with the tightness of the hamstring. So there will be a more force generated by the quadriceps muscle group. So it will increases the patellofemoral joint reaction force, and especially during the stair climbing or squatting down activities. So articles found hamstring tightness in patellofemoral pain athletes in many cases. So 23% cases in athlete had appreciable hamstring tightness. So while addressing a patellofemoral cases, so while treating a condition of patellofemoral pain syndrome, so we have to address all these things in our mind. So usually have to check the tightness of hamstring and IT band tightness, or the tone of the vastus medialis obliquus. So another biomechanical or anatomical cause is dynamic valgus or functional malalignment. So excessive dynamic knee valgus is an abnormality of neuromuscular control over the lower limb. you can see here the patient is standing in all our squatting down activity. So that time, what happened? There will be a more pressure on the lateral side of the knee, and it will tilt the patella towards the lateral side. So you can see a dynamic valgus over here in this picture. The functional dynamic valgus may influence patellar tracking, leading to the lateralization of patella. So the cause of functional or dynamic valgus can be an internal rotation of femur or the tibia or both. So here in the picture you can see the internal rotation of tibia or femur or both. So it will put more pressure on the knee patellofemoral joint. So internal rotation of the femur might be a result of weakness of the abductors or the internal rotation of the tibia. So it causes even a rear foot eversion also. So in this case, what happens? The internally the femur will rotate, and maybe it will rotate even the tibia also. So it's seen in most of the cases with the hip abductors weakness. So it's a functional dynamic valgus we can see in this case. So the functional valgus lead to the lateral patella maltracking. So while addressing the condition, we have to see all these things in our mind. So we can see the hip stability and hip abductor strength. Many studies have found the hip abductor strength in patients with the patellofemoral pain syndrome. Many cases they found that there is a weakness of abductor, hip abductor. So decreased gluteus medius and gluteus maximus strength is related to increased knee valgus after landing a drop jump. So in that case, we have to start strengthening of gluteus medius and gluteus maximus to maintain the stability of hip joint, so that it will reduce the functional valgus in that kind of cases. So here we can see we will ask the patient to stand on one leg. So if the patient is not able to hold the hip on the same position for 1 minute, you can see there is a hip drop in the picture. So it's mainly the weakness of the hip abductors it's showing. So while addressing a case, so we have to see all these, the weakness of the hip abductors or the tightness of the lateral structures around the knee joint. So a rear foot eversion, also another cause of putting pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So in the many cases they found that early rear foot eversion during the heel strike indicate a rapid pronation of the foot. It's produce more pressure on the patellofemoral knee joint. So another we can address a Q angle. So a greater Q angle believed to be more contact pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So here we can see normally the women have more more Q angle, so it will put more pressure on the quadriceps. So quadriceps have to generate more force to maintain the knee stability. So this also increases the pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So that's the main reason in women you can see with the patellofemoral pain syndrome. So the clinical features, if we will discuss, the pain on the anterior portion of the knee, possible recurrent swelling sometimes, a giving out due to a quadriceps inhibition. We can see a tenderness over the medial or lateral retinaculum. If we palpate on the medial or lateral side of the retinaculum, we can feel a tenderness over there. The patient can feel a tenderness over there. So the crepitous or the grating sensation with the flexion or extension also was a clinical features in some cases. So if you will see a clinical diagnosis, some components we can see in clinical examination. So here we can see a poor VMO tone. So we have to check the tone of the vastus medialis obliquus. So sometimes in the patellofemoral pain syndrome cases, the VMO will be weak. So it will put more pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So because the lateral stretches are tight, the medial stretches are weak. So it will pull the patella towards the lateral side and it will cause more pressure on the patellofemoral joint. And forceps and patellofemoral tenderness suggestive of tendinopathy or tear of injury. In acute cases, we can see. If you tenderness over the pens answering bursa, it's cause swelling or bursitis is the symptom. So tenderness over IT band or the lateral femoral epicondyle suggest a IT band syndrome. So these are the some of the clinical differentiation in some cases so that mimic the patellofemoral pain syndrome. So you will see the femoral condyle injuries of the tenderness over the femoral condyles. It shows a injuries of collateral ligament or infrapatellar fat part tenderness may be seen in Hoffa's disease. Or otherwise, a joint line tenderness suggests a meniscal injury. The range of motion of the knee and hip will be usually normal in patellofemoral pain syndrome. Or a popping or clicking sound may produce with the knee flexion or extension in some patella maltracking conditions. So it shows the instability of the patella or the lateral deviation of the patella during the extension in patellofemoral pain syndrome. So we can do a patella tilt test. So patella positive test is show the tightness of the lateral stretchers. So a patella grind test in pain with the patella grind test or the Clark sign is usually seen in patellofemoral pain syndrome condition. So there is a patella apprehension test. The positive test it shows a instability of the patellofemoral joint. It's along with the pain, there will be apprehension also on, and we have to check the flexibility of both quadriceps, hamstring, IT band, hip flexors, and the gastrosoleus while examining the patient with the patellofemoral pain syndrome. The diagnosis. What we can see, usually we can see the symptoms and clinical diagnosis along with the imaging, X-rays and MRI. So here the X-ray showing the lateral tilting of the patella towards the lateral facet of the femur. So it put more pressure on the lateral facet joint. So here we can see a skyline view. It's showing a more tilting of the patella towards the lateral side. So the goal of the treatment is mainly to reduce pain and inflammation. And in the early stages, the goal is we have to reduce the pain and inflammation in the condition. Then we have to improve the range of motion of the knee joint. And the later stages, we have to start strengthening to improve the strength around the knee joint and the hip abductors and the surrounding structures. So in the later stage, we have to improve the functions like walking, running, squatting, and landing activities in the sports cases. So the basic management, the basic exercise principle for the management of patellofemoral pain syndrome is restoring the muscle balance within the quadriceps group, improving the range of motion, and restricting the physical activities till the symptoms subside. So early we have to prevent like a squatting, running kind of activities to reduce the pressure on the knee joint to prevent further injuries. So ice pack application, cold pack application is important in the early stages to reduce inflammation. It's very helpful in reducing inflammation on the early stages along with the exercise. Other modalities can be used like biofeedback, electrical stimulation and biofeedback can be used along with the strengthening exercise. Patellar taping can be used to reduce friction on the patella. So patellar taping like even McConnell taping or kinesio taping to the medially targeted patellar taping can be helpful in many cases to reduce the early pain on patellofemoral cases. The management, the NSAIDs can be worked in the early stages. Ibuprofen, naproxen and all can be used in the all NSAIDs can be used in the early inflammatory stages to reduce inflammation and to improve the condition. If there is a pes planus is flexible, then we can advise the patient to use a foot orthosis to reduce pain in the short term. So there is evidence is saying that both hip strengthening and coordination programs may be useful in the treatment plan of patellofemoral pain syndrome. So there is an international patellofemoral research retreat meeting was held in Manchester. They were saying some updated current evidence regarding the patellofemoral pain syndrome treatment. So the 6 recommendations from the expert panel were there. The exercise therapy is most recommended to reduce pain in the short, medium, and long term, and improve function in the medium and long term. So exercise therapy, we have to give more preference for the exercise therapy to reduce pain and improve the function of the patient in the short and medium and long term. So combining with the hip and knee exercise is recommended. So rather than doing a knee targeted exercise, we have to do a combination of hip and knee targeted exercise to reduce pain and improve the function in both short, medium, and long time. So in some of the cases, what we will do, we will mostly target it on the knee exercise only, knee group muscles only, especially the quadriceps. So instead of that, we can do a combination of exercise targeted over hip and knee in the patellofemoral pain syndrome. So combined intervention like other patellar mobilization or kinesio taping also can be useful along with the exercise in patellofemoral pain syndrome. So it should be a medial targeted patellar kinesio taping or a McConnell taping can be used to relieve the pressure or to keep the patella in the normal position. So foot orthosis are being recommended to reduce pain in the short time, but it's not in long time, it will not be helpful. So in the early condition, early stages, we can prefer a foot orthosis to correct the foot pronation on the. And patellofemoral, in some physiotherapists, they will consider the patellofemoral mobilization or lumbar mobilization are not recommended. Patellofemoral mobilization, their expert panel is saying the patellofemoral or the knee mobilization or lumbar mobilization are not recommended. So electrophysical agents like ultrasound and are having not much effect over the patellofemoral pain syndrome. So we have to more focuses on taping, kinesio taping, ice pack application in the early stage, then strengthening exercise targeted on both hip and knee joint. So we will see the evidence. So it's in the short time, it reduces both pain. Exercise therapy, it reduces pain in the short time, less than 6 months, and improves the function more than 6 months to 12 months. It reduces pain and it improves the knee joint function in the patellofemoral pain syndrome cases. So that's the one of the major evidence for exercise therapy that we have to prescribe for patellofemoral pain syndrome. So a combination of hip and knee targeted exercise therapy, especially on hip abductors and vastus medialis obliquus, and the tightness of IT band and all should be, we have to note it down in the patellofemoral cases. So we have to, the combination of targeted knee and hip exercise is more helpful than a targeted knee exercise in the short and medium time and even a long time condition. So in the early stages, instead of focusing more on the knee joint, we have to focus on the hip targeted exercise therapy so that it will not put much pressure in the early stages on the knee joint. So it's helpful reducing pain and improves the function also. So there is the evidence that the patellar taping and bracing also helpful in the short time period, but it's not very helpful in the long time period. So the initial goal to reduce pain, so that time and all we can use a patellar taping in that scenario. So other therapies like acupuncture and all reduces pain in the medium time condition, but it's in long time, if you will see acupuncture and all is not giving much result on patellofemoral condition. Some results are saying knee mobilization and patellar mobilization also helpful in early stages. Some evidence is saying about laser therapy, low-level laser therapy improves the pain and function for short time, but at long time, we have to focus us more on the exercise therapy. So the initial management can be used with the ice pack or cordyceps set, patellar mobilization, medially oriented kinesio taping or the McConnell taping. So mostly can use a rigid tape like McConnell tape, which will be very helpful in the stability of the knee patellofemoral joint while with the activities. So IT band stretching is very helpful in the early stages to reduce more pressure on the lateral side of the patellofemoral joint. So as we discussed earlier, so we can do more on hamstring and quadriceps stretches, helpful in reducing pressure on the patellofemoral joint. So we will see the influences of the hip on patients with the patellofemoral pain syndrome. Several studies demonstrate a correlation between decreased hip strength, especially the hip abductors in the patellofemoral pain syndrome. So there is some systematic review, around 5 studies. It's showing a hip strength in the patient with patellofemoral pain syndrome that external rotation and hip abductors are weaker in the studies. So there is some studies it's showing even along with the hip abductors and the external rotator weakness, there is a hip extensor weakness also. So while addressing the condition, so we have to more concentrate on hip abductors strengthening, the external rotators and the hip extensors strengthening. So we'll start with some isometrics in the early stages to encourage the muscle recruitment. So manual perturbation can be given on the sideline when the patient is trying to abduct the leg on the side. So we can give a manual resistance to improve the strength of the hip abductors in the early stage, so that it will not put much pressure on the knee joint. With the knee extend position, we can do a resistance over the hip abductors. So there is pelvic drop exercise. One of the exercise we can do it in the early stages. Ask the patient to stand in one leg, the affected leg out of the stair. We will ask the patient to stand on a foot stand. Ask the patient to keep the affected leg out of the stand. Ask to slowly lower and slowly raise the affected side hip, so that it will give a more control on the hip abductors or the gluteal muscles. So it is one of the early exercise we can prescribe for patellofemoral pain syndrome cases. So once the early stages complete, we can progress to a resisted exercise with the TheraBand and a side-to-side walking with a resisted band in the angle may be recommended to improve the strength of the hip abductors. So there is evidence that both closed kinetic chain and the open kinetic chain exercise are very helpful in patellofemoral pain syndrome, but in the later stages only we can start with the closed kinetic chain exercise. The early stages we can start with the open kinetic chain exercise, but in the later stage we can progress to a closed kinetic chain exercise like dynamic quadriceps, like a squatting down exercise, or the dynamic quadriceps exercise with a TheraBand, and we can start. So it should be continue with the hamstring and quadriceps stretching, and the IT band stretching should be continued for further. So exercise like stationary bike and endurance activity can be included in the later stages of patellofemoral pain syndrome, along with the hip and core knee strengthening. So there is evidence that both open and closed kinetic chain exercise providing a meaningful reduction of pain and improving the function in patellofemoral knee pain syndrome. So we'll finish with the discussion. So any questions or anything people can discuss here. So the questions can be asked through the audio or the chat room. So there you can use both the chat room or the audio.
You sir, very good presentation. Sir, what's your preferring that acute state, open chain or closed chain? It is you are preferring. If it is open chain, it will make some irritation.
Hello.
Audible, sir?
Yes. You can ask.
I'm Sharij, physiotherapist working in Fujairah Hospital.
Oh, nice to meet you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice presentation, includes all of the level and evidence-based practice. Anyway, good presentation.
Thank you so much.
Sir, what's your preferring, the open chain kinematic or closed chain in the acute stage?
In the acute stage, they were saying usually we can more concentrate on the hip joint rather than a knee joint.
Yeah, that's what.
So
Okay, yeah. What's my question? It is we will start with the knee. I mean, the hip it is okay. We should be starting in the acute stage. This is what the main concern about me it is because now usually the physios are only concentrating on VMO, and even though acute stage will be irritate more in the knee. This is what my concern. Yeah, good.
Yes,
good.
Anyway,
that's what I told. Yeah.
Yes,
sir,
we can start with the.
Yes. What's my question? It is if we start with in the knee, it is open chain kinematic. It will irritate more. No, that's why I preferring it is better. It is if you start with the closed kinematic. Even I heard in the last some more lecture. What's your opinion? Do you have anything suggestions?
In the closed kinematic chain, again, the people have to squat down and do the exercise and all. So it will, the early stages, it will put more pressure in the malalignment cases and all. So usually I think it's with patellar taping and all, we can do a dynamic quadriceps, the open kinetic chain exercise in the early stages, and we'll progress to the closed kinetic chain exercise.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Once again, good presentation.
Yeah, usually what we can do is we can more concentrate on the hip rather than knee in the early stages. Then slowly we will progress to the VMO strengthening and all.
Yes, and that's what the good idea. I mean, that's usually.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll continue with the next presentation by Dr. Ihab. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thanks for our audience. First, I introduce myself. I am Dr. Ihab Mohammed Shahada. I am Associate Professor of Orthopedic Surgery in Egypt and in Germany, with super specialty for joint arthroplasty and intra-articular joint problem. Today, we will discuss overview about osteoarthritis knee. Why osteoarthritis knee? Because the knee pain, especially in the Middle East and Asian country and Arabic country, it is the most common side of the pain, and it is seen by every doctor, GP, or any other specialty as a daily in practice. We will discuss the basic concept and the basic knowledge of what is the osteoarthritis knee, overview about epidemiology, definition, risk factors, how to clinical approach to this knee pain, what is the differential diagnosis, what is the suitable diagnosis and grading system of the osteoarthritis, and the management plan, which are including lifestyle, medical, and surgical treatment. For epidemiology, knee osteoarthritis is the most common cause of disability in the adult, which lead to decreasing the work productivity and frequently sick days. And this will be burden in the all insurance and in economic of the country as the highest medical expense. If we were calculating the number of people above 65 years, it may be reached in Arabic country more than 20 or 25%. It means 1 every 4 people suffering from osteoarthritis knee. There are gradual loss of articular cartilage of the knee, and in the knee joint we have 3 different joint contacting forces: lateral condyle of the femur with the tibia, or medial condyle of the femur and tibia, or patellofemoral, and the damage caused by complex integrity of the joint, including biochemical, biomechanical, genetic, and mechanical forces. If we remember basic about the anatomy, there are femur, patella, tibial bone, 3 bone having 2 joint, femorotibial joint and patellofemoral joint. The 2 joint will be consist during everyday activity, walking upstairs, downstairs, and the stability depends on bone in geometry, upon ligament, medial collateral ligament, lateral collateral ligament, and intra-articular, the cruciate ligament and the meniscus, which increase the surface area and the contact forces between the tibia and the medial. Here there are medial side and lateral side and patellofemoral joint. After some age degeneration, appears the cartilage degenerated in most focal in patellofemoral and in the medial or lateral, most commonly in the medial, especially the posterior part. There are different risk factors, including the age. When the age increasing, the more degeneration, because this osteoarthritis is degenerative process done with every body, with every patient. Female patient is more liable for osteoarthritis, complaining osteoarthritis than male due to daily activity during life. Obesity, it is one important factor even for decision of the management, but this factor can be modified previous knee injury, lower extremity malalignment, especially in rachitic and in developing country for vitamin D deficiency and genu varum, and recently for in young age about repetitive knee bending and high impact activity in sport injury, and lastly is the muscle weakness during aging. The structure of the cartilage. Cartilage in the knee joint is hyaline cartilage and containing special type of collagen 2 and containing protoglycan molecule which containing hyaluronic acid and glucosamine, water, chondrocyte, and there are balance between regeneration and degeneration. During young age and adult age, regeneration process is the most dominant. After 40 years of age, degeneration process become more and more. This is the microstructures of the cartilage under electron microscope, showing that the collagen fiber, it is radially aligning, and in between there are some collagen and some water molecules, and including protoglycan aggregate, which absorb and dissolve the forces with each weight bearing and pressure forces. The age and the gender will lead to osteoarthritis, other factors, and even local factors. All of them will lead to more degeneration gone with the time. Dysfunction of the joint cartilage due to chondrocyte function as degenerative enzyme and inhibitor, allowing to increase interleukin-1 degenerative enzyme, leading to synovial inflammation and breakdown of the cartilage. Local growth factor, especially transforming growth factor, are also involved in the formation of osteophyte at the edge of the tibia and the femur to increase the surface area to reduce the loading during daily activity. When we are facing any patient have minimal knee pain, we have the normal medical history about the side of the pain, medial or lateral, the severity of the pain using different pain score. The onset, it is gradual or acute, it is related to trauma or not related to trauma. What are the character of the pain? It is only just aching pain or joint soreness or early morning or stiffness. Radiating, it is present only in the knee joint or maybe radiating up or down. What is the alleviation? Just medication or rest. Time, how many frequency? Osteoarthritis characteristic by each year will be increase the frequency of the pain episode in knee. Exacerbation, walking, how many meters, upstairs, downstairs, sometimes associated with swelling and knee instability. We're using physical examination, body height, body weight, and joint line tenderness, range of motion compared to both sides, and some specific clinical testing for testing stability, like anterior stability using Lachman test, valgus or varus test for medial and lateral instability, patellar mobility, and bowing and alignment of the knee joint. This is pictures of the different type of valgus test for evaluation of medial collateral ligament, varus test to evaluate the integrity of lateral collateral ligament, Lachman test for anterior cruciate ligament, McMurray test for meniscal injury, and Waddell test for stability. And X-ray must be doing weight-bearing X-ray. The anteroposterior X-ray must be done and ordered as a weight-bearing, not make the patient do X-ray in supine position, must be in the weight-bearing. Because this osteoarthritis affected and the space will be decreased during standing if compared to supine picture. Lateral view and tangential view for patellofemoral. And MRI is the crucial and the most important for evaluation of soft tissue, including anterior cruciate, meniscal, and other tissue inside the knee joint. There are differential diagnoses. Medial pain, it is osteoarthritis or medial collateral ligament strain or meniscal injury or bursitis. Lateral pain, osteoarthritis or lateral collateral ligament, meniscus, iliotibial band syndrome. Diffuse anterior knee pain, that is osteoarthritis, patellofemoral, prepatellar bursitis, or quadriceps mechanism dysfunction. But diffuse pain, the most common type of pain in osteoarthritis with medial pain. Classical criteria, most of patients have these 3 of these 6 characteristics. It is definite osteoarthritis, pure is the main cause of the pain. Age of the patient, more than 50 or 45. There are morning stiffness, not too much. Some crepitus during acute bending, like praying, like acute squatting. Some bony tenderness or bony enlargement due to osteophyte, and no palpable warmth. Radiological finding of osteoarthritis will find narrowing of the joint space due to loss of cartilage thickness. Normally it is 6 millimeters, but it will be reduced. Osteophyte in the edges, mainly in the medial, osteomedial part, subchondral cyst, and then bone cyst. Here, normal X-ray in the left side, in the middle, started grade 2, bone spare, mild joint, but in the most lower and in the right side will face complete degeneration of the intra-articular knee grade 4, including sclerosis of the surface of the joint, bone cyst, and osteophyte, and damaged space. This is grading system. Grade 1 early changes, grade 2 mild changes, grade 3 is moderate, grade 4 is severe. For this patient, if you're looking for the left photo X-ray standing, it will be grade 3. And in the right side, it will be grade 4 plus subluxation. It means starting of ligamentum dysfunction. And this picture is very, very important because we must be not waiting till the patient coming to us with collateral ligament instability, because the treatment, even the surgery, including total knee replacement, depend on integrity of the collateral ligament. Once one of the collateral ligament become dysfunction or laxity or overstretching or non-functioning, will be added more complication to the surgery and decrease lifespan of the procedure. Osteoarthritis of the knee. Now we are viewing the epidemiology, clinical approach, diagnosis. What is the management? Management for lifestyle can be weight loss, like nutritional reference, some exercise program, quadriceps strengthening, increased range of motion, low impact activity like swimming, ambulatory assessment like can or walker, some insole and unloading knee braces. This is a special type of unloading knee braces which can be used in grade 1, grade 2 osteoarthritis, especially in the patient have previously pre-existing genu varum or genu valgum during adulthood or childhood, and this can be recorrection of the alignment, especially during standing and walking. Medical. There are some symptomatic treatment. It is only concentrated about the pain, because once the pain started and frequently, always the patient complaining of recurrent pain, recurrent knee effusion, and the pain and knee effusion makes the patient is not walking a lot and more sitting and become visual circle, more degeneration, no loading. Structure modifying drugs like hyaluronic acid, which it can be on the collagen, can be taken systematic or intra-articularly, or can be one of these modality in combination with the surgery. Glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate, and this is considered as modified disease drugs. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory and COX-2 inhibitor, this is for pain relief. Opioid only restricted in preoperative and in severe cases. Intra-articular injection, combination of glucocorticoid and hyaluronic acid can be started in grade 3 to decrease the rate of needing of early operation for osteoarthritis. This is different type of non-steroidal, and we are prefer always using this non-steroidal for short duration from 10 days to 20 days, and using some of drugs with short lifespan in the bloodstream, like ibuprofen, naproxen. Glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate at the dose of 1,500 milligram daily, he will build up block for glucosamine aminoglycogen. And what is the study showing? Multiple center study will showing that it is reducing to symptomatic treatment in mild to severe knee osteoarthritis for long term, 9 months or 1 year, infrequent mild side effect, and can be taken even for more severe cases, and give patient satisfaction up to 75 to 80% during 3 to 5 years. Indicated for opioid analgesic only in severe cases in acute exacerbation, and must be combined with non-steroidal and inflammatory drug, and avoid for long-term use. Intra-articular injection. Steroid intra-articular injection indicate if the pain is persistent despite of oral analgesic and more than 3 months without effect. Can be effect for pain relief for short duration, but it is give more result if it is combined with long-acting steroid like dipomedrol, diprobose, plus hyaluronic acid derivative. And this, when we are talking about hyaluronic acid derivative, we must be looking for the volume. How many milliliter will be injected inside the knee, and what is the concentration of hyaluronic molecule inside each 1 milliliter. Most of recent study showing that the most probable amount between 2 to 4 milliliter injection inside the knee. That can be good absorption at the surface, because the old age patient cannot absorb 6 milliliter or more when the knee joint already have a lot of fluid due to osteoarthritis and degeneration and aseptic inflammation, and to inject more amount of hyaluronic acid will be less concentrated and less absorption. And this will affect good patient satisfaction more than 70% over 6 months to 1 year. How many times we can repeat this intra-articularly? Usually we can repeat this injection up to 4 to 6 times. It means we can be during 3 to 4 or maximum 5 years. After that, if the patient is still continuous pain, recurrent pain, this means that the cartilage already have some ulcer and exposure of subchondral bone, and the absorption power of the cartilage become too much less, will not affect this intra-articular injection. Recently, there are some researches and some results promising for using plasma-rich platelet. What is the plasma-rich platelet? This is contain activated endogenous thrombin and intra-articular collagen, which contain some growth factor like interleukin-1, tissue necrotizing factors, and others. Many of these mediators, it is used as anti-catabolic to stop the breakdown and degeneration process, and degeneration enzyme, it is released from chondrocyte, and leading to improve even the result of using medical like non-steroidal, and leading to mechanical stability. It is very important that producing mechanical stabilization of the cartilage by controlling the metabolic function of the chondrocyte and subchondral bone, maintaining this homeostasis between the synthesis and degeneration of proteoglycan in old age, and stimulating the proliferation of the chondrocyte. This is the algorithm. We're starting by lifestyle modification, some non-steroidal or pain management, then hyaluronic acid. If this already exhausted, we must be referred to surgical reference. What is the surgical? Surgical referred to the patient who in the pain and functional status both using different score like American Knee Society score, like Oxford score. When the patient have a score less than 50% or 60%, it means that the patient must be looking for other solution because it is degenerative process and the pathway is continuous. Every year become more destruction of the cartilage. There's no stability and there is no plateau. It is always progressive. Type of the procedure, arthroscopic irrigation and debridement used only in grade 2, especially if they are combined by meniscal injury. It is most commonly in the age around 40 to 50, especially if the patient is still doing some exercise, have injury, soft tissue injury like previous ACL injury, like meniscal injury, and this will increase the rate of the pain relief and range of motion and delay the need of total knee replacement for some time between 5 to 10 years. High tibial osteotomy only indicated in the past when there have severe geniovarum or geniovalgum. This is only in the past before 2000. Now it is only not using as a treatment of osteoarthritis. Partial knee arthroplasty is what's called unicompartmental knee arthroplasty, using only in very young patient, post-traumatic, but must be realized that the lifespan of the unicompartmental arthroplasty is only 5 to 9 years. Total knee arthroplasty. Total knee arthroplasty, it is considered up till now as a golden standard treatment of the severe cases, grade 3 for osteoarthritis knee. This is high tibial osteotomy used before, and after 5 years, the patient already need again for total knee arthroplasty. But before we are talking about knee arthroplasty, which are unicompartmental or bicompartmental, we must be declaring 3 important medical statements. The first statement, now there is no contraindication of arthroplasty except 2, only active septic arthritis and paralysis of the limb. No age related, no age limit, no other comorbidity like dementia, like diabetic, hypertensive, cardiac, renal failure, hepatic failure. All of these patients can do total knee arthroplasty. Only contraindicated in acute septic arthritis or paralysis. Second important, what are the success of total joint arthroplasty? According to the large researches in the International Meeting of Hip and Knee Arthroplasty in Europe, European Hip Society and European Knee Society, done in 2010 and 2012 in Greece and in Italy, when comparing between the number and the success rate over 20 years between total knee, total hip, and other surgery like cesarean section in labor, we find that it is comparable, the result over 10-year result between cesarean section and total knee arthroplasty reaching to 95%. Only needing 2 important, we must be doing under skillful surgery and special type of models. Why? Total knee now, more than 20 models, more than 20 geometry, not compatible with each of the patient. We are different population. We have some tall, we have some obese, we have some geometry different between male and female. We have previous. Not every design is suitable for every patient, whatever the development of the design. This must be under the control of surgeon. Surgery must be discussed with the patient. Why? I will choose for you this prosthesis in spite of other prosthesis. What are your benefit of this prosthesis and what is drawback and disadvantage of other prosthesis? When we're talking about unicompartmental knee, it is only not depend on needing only post-traumatic or limited osteoarthritis, unicompartmental, medial, or lateral, or patellofemoral, must be all the ligament in complete normal state, because he cannot correct any deformity and he cannot realign the ligament. This is indicated to increase the range of motion and is fast recovery, but regarding the long life, still less than 75 over 10 years. Totally, as we are discussing, that it is the golden standard for this treatment of osteoarthritis, including all variety, grade 3, grade 4, old age, young age, obese patient, and even more than 120. Some article tells that obese patient, yes, have some risks, but before 2000, it is contraindicated to apply total knee in patient, for example, more than 120, 130 kilogram. Now we can apply it 140, 150 with a special type of prosthesis. Also the age, now 90 age, 100 year, also young age like rheumatoid, only 20-year age can be applied total knee. Severe pain, function impairment, and we must be remember that the total knee improves the preoperative range of motion about 50 degrees. We must be waiting that the patient coming with wheelchair cannot be stand, cannot be walking, and I need total knee now to return to my normal life. Total knee design have different design, that some design is using ACL sacrificing, some design we're using PCL sacrificing or not sacrificing. But regarding the long-term results over 10 years, in most of population, most of article now reach to more than 93, 95. And implant cost, this is one of the crucial up till now, because there are some more advanced in the material and in the surface and in the geometry. He will apply in the knee joint prosthesis, but it is also cost related. There are some implant, it is triple the cost of other implant, but we must be looking for the beneficial of the patient, how the patient can be improved with this new implant. It is more compatible for this patient or not. This is a picture of demonstration of the classical new. We now present some cases. This is female patient, 50-year-old, grade 4 osteoarthritis with severe damage of the medial compartment, partial instability of the medial collateral ligament, severe osteophyte, applying mobile bearing. Mobile bearing, total knee, it is called mobile bearing technology, which allows the meniscus to be anteroposterior and rotated movement like normal meniscus. This prosthesis have different variety between male and female, because the geometry of male, it is different from the female. The size of the bone, the mediolateral size, the anteroposterior diameter of the femur. This more, if you are looking in the lower right one here, we will find that it is completely compatible, matching the bone geometry. And this allows fast recovery. It is complete weight bearing after 24 hours of the operation, and it will be within 4 to 6 weeks complete walking without any aids. And range of motion can be reached up to 145 degrees within 1 or 2 months. This is intra-articular. We see how this all the medial compartment and cartilage is gone. And post-operative, only 3 months, we find that the patient can be full flexion. Other patient, it is 57 years, have severe osteoarthritis with partial subluxation and also collateral instability. Because of this, using mobile technology also, what is the benefit of this mobile bearing? It is redistribution, reloading of the collateral ligament. In this processes, the surgeon will need minimal bone cut and minimal soft tissue reconstruction, because with each step post-operative, the patient will be retightening of the lateral compartment and increase the length of the medial compartment, unloading, and this will get more benefit, not depend on the full stiffness of the collateral ligament. And this, if you're looking for post-operative, it is more than 140-degree full extension, full flexion immediately. Another case, post-traumatic, severe post-traumatic. All the geometry of the bone and knee joint is lost. Even the medullary canal of the femur cannot be found. And this patient have osteotrauma, intra-articular distal femoral condyle fracture at age of 20-25, and do operation and blade, and then remove the implant. And after 20 years of the operation, the patient become nearly semi-stiffness, only from 0 to 40 degree of flexions. And the patient coming for knee arthroplasty. And the first question, I can bending knee more than 90 degree, because most of Dr. Del says it is very difficult or impossible. I have very long, like arthrofibrosis and malalignment and post-traumatic gonoarthrosis of the knee, and to return to your normal function or near to normal is impossible. No, it is can be. Some devices, this again, we must be correct choose of which implant design for each patient. For this special type of implant, it is if you are looking comparing to the previous, it is completely different type, completely different mechanism of mobile bearing, only allowing to resurfacing, like resurfacing only the tibial with posterior tibial inclination 7 degree, and with mobile bearing, and the patient is in flexion and in extension. Another case, why we are talking about obesity, this patient, you see the knee, how it is too much obesity, more than 145 kilogram, and the body height about 160 centimeter, with severe degeneration and loss, with bone loss. This can be previously treated by only revision total knee stem in before 10 years. But now we can apply the primary prosthesis with special technology. If you're looking for the distal of the femur, here we find complete matching of the distal femur and also the tibia. And also this is allowing for full rotation between the femur and the tibia with each gait cycle. And this is loading, unloading mechanism. It is called mobile bearing, not design, mobile bearing technology in the total knee, also present in the total hip. Now, treatment is different with every individual. Only need a skillful doctor and complete discussion with the patient about the severity of osteoarthritis, and consider what is the treatment option, why we are using a special type of the prosthesis to you. We must be not afraid about the surgery. Surgery now can be done at any stage, at any comorbidity, at any age, no restriction except previous to active septic arthritis or paralysis. Consider the patient goal. He need pain-free, he need perform activity must be addressed. Thanks for attendance, and any question?
Good evening, doctor.
Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation, very elaborate.
Yes, the voice.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes, little bit, yes.
Hello.
Hello?
Can you hear?
Yes, yes, I hear now.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presentation, very elaborate one. Just ask want to ask one thing. Like, are the young athletes who take intra-articular injections quite frequently, are they at the risk of getting osteoarthritis earlier than the other population?
Again, your question, please. It is
the young athletes who take
Yes.
intra-articular injection for the meniscal problems and
Yes.
ligament problems, are they at the risk of developing osteoarthritis earlier than the other population?
Yes, regarding the young athletics, he can using the intra-articular plus arthroscopy. First, if any young athletics have any meniscal injury, this is one of the clear indication of meniscal repair, not partial meniscectomy. Please, in any athletics, not try to any surgeon to do any meniscal removal, because any part of meniscal removal will be aggravate the osteoarthritis condition very early. Try to repair, because the repair, even if the cutting in the white zone, still have some chance to regeneration. And this combined with intra-articular injection of the hyaluronic acids, yes, and aggressive physiotherapy. And then after 1 year, 2 years, can be follow up. If the patient develops severe unicompartmental osteoarthritis, in some patients, like in tennis player and in basketball, some people using unicompartmental Oxford mobile bearing, but we must be realized that this prosthesis in very high demanding young cannot be survived more than 10 years. Okay?
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Any other question?
Do you advise intra-articular injections in very young athletes? It may cause.
Yes. Intra-articular injection in very young give very good result.
But will it not cause the risk of cartilage destruction in earlier than the other patient in case of?
No. When using in athletics, you only using hyaluronic acid, high concentration of hyaluronic acid, 4 million unit in each 1 cubic milliliter, like Zinvisc 1, Zinvisc 2, some others, but must be in young athletics. This is very good. And also there are some collagen injection intra-articular. It is available in some European country, like in Germany, but I think it is in UAE, it is not available collagen as an intra-articular. It is only available as a tablet or fluid. But intra-articular hyaluronic acid in young athletic is very good, but without steroid.
Thank you, doctor.
Without any steroid. Yes.
One more question, doctor. When you consider doing arthroplasty in very old patients, like 85 years old, what factors do you consider before doing the surgery? Like what feasibility of the surgery?
Again, if we consider unicompartmental in athletic.
No, doctor. In very old patients, about 85 years, what
Yes.
factors do you consider before doing surgery? Like feasibility of the surgery? Like when do you decide to go for a surgery in very old patient?
In very old patient, only will decide if the patient, according to the patient, need complete functional and pain score. If the patient have knee and functional score less than 60, I will go direct to even the patient coming for intra-articular or arthroscopy. No, you are candid. And the patient, if the patient have bilateral arthritis in this old age, it is preferred to do bilateral surgery in one sitting.
Thank you, doctor.
Thanks.
Doctor,
Yes.
again, like most of the time, the population in the Middle East, they go for the replacement because they want to pray on the floor most of the time. This is the main reason.
Yes.
So how realistic we can achieve this praying on the floor?
Yes. Regarding a lot of, this is very good question. A lot of Middle East and Asian country need to pray again in the ground. This can be done, yes, can be done, but with not all the patient. If the patient preoperative had 100 degree, can be lead to 145 degree. and this according to the choose of the type of the prosthesis. This first one. Second one, we always advise for this type of the patient, you must be realized for this old age people, you can pray, but you must be, if you need to preserve your total knee for more long time, you must be reducing the time of acute this flexion. This means that if you can praying, because I have some of my patients, even 60% of my patient can be praying, but I tell for him, you are already praying today one time normal, but not using it every day. Because this also including some psychological, that I cannot pray again. No, you can, but not using as a deep, because if he is using as a routine daily, we will neglect even not praying, he will sitting on the ground, he is squatting, and this will be effect for early loosening and degradation of polyethylene.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Regarding some question about osteoporotic patient. Yes, in osteoporotic patient, we're using long stem. We're using long stem femur and long stem tibia. This can be applied in severe osteoporotic patient, like rheumatoid. We're using long stem, usually between 10 centimeter to 16 centimeter, intramedullary in the tibia and intramedullary of the femur. Regarding body mass index, it is not indicated as preoperative measurement. I know some article using it as routine, because if you are looking in the system of registry system, because I told I am working in Germany for a long time and I have more than 4,000 operations for total joint arthroplasty. A lot of registry system before year of 2000 can using basal body mass index as routine preoperative, because the new devices and new material cannot be sustained this heavy weight. But now, not using. Now we can apply different material and different design for old age. For example, if patient have this 140, we can apply it long stem tibia with the normal femur. Other patient, we can apply long stem femur with the normal tibia. Other, we can apply linked prosthesis. It is different from case to case. No, the selection of the prosthesis depend on three. First, on the age of the patient, and in the X-ray, not in body mass index. In the X-ray, how it is the patient feel it is osteoporotic or not, and the axis of the patient, and clinically, what is the ligamentum stability. If the patient have some medial or collateral ligament instability, we can using constrained prosthesis according to medial or lateral. Regarding the some question about gain of range of motion, usually after within first week inside the hospital, the patient discharging when the patient get 90-degree flexion, full extension, full weight bearing, with this can be discharged and can be returned to preoperative range of motion or more than 110 within 4 weeks. After 6 weeks to 8 weeks, 90% if the patient do active exercise, not related to the pain. Of course, there are some old age have some pain, low back pain, other you are doing one knee, the other hip have arthritis. There are some patient, some still pain, but can be take painkiller and active exercise, usually within 2 months, reaching to 120. And for calculation of range of motion, with a special type of new technology on the prosthesis, can be semi-guarantee that you are improvement from 30-degree to 50-degree range of motion regarding the preoperative. If the patient preoperative is 90, can be reached to 130 after 2 months. If the patient is 100, we can reach to 140. If the patient is 60-degree, can be reached to 100. There are a few cases, of course. Most one question asking about pain after joint replacement. This is good question because most of pain about especially patellofemoral due to malalignment of the femoral component. 80%, if you're looking for a registry, Scandinavian registry published in 2010, about more than 500,000 cases, 80% of anterior knee pain is related to malpositioning, little bit malpositioning of femoral component. If it is corrected, it will be reduce this pain. Yes, regarding septic arthritis after total knee. Before any arthroplasty, you must do ESR and C-reactive protein as a basic pre-operative. And in the 3rd and 5 days post-operative, you must do it again. Will be up to 4-fold. And after 2 weeks, and apply again. If it is constant, more than 4-fold after 2 weeks, it means very, very early septic arthritis. And for these cases, we must not waiting till complete pus and must be this admitted the hospital, aggressive antibiotic for 2 weeks and repeat it. If it is not reducing, must be do suction irrigation through arthroscopy. Regarding one question regarding contraindication. Contraindication again is only contraindication to condition, acute septic arthritis. If the patient have total knee before or trauma before or arthroscopy and developed arthritis, septic arthritis, before the operation, we must be do all laboratory investigation for the like CRP and ESR and CBC, and then using complete washing with vancomycin during surgery and special precaution intraoperative, and then special semen with antibiotic, and after operation will continuous in IV antibiotic 14 days. Okay, this must be done as routine. But in case of any patient still have active pus or paralysis, this is the only contraindication. Otherwise, even the patient have previous, can be go. Regarding gout arthritis, it is very successful in total joint arthroplasty, but only will needing to measurement and special assessment of the ligament stability. Yes, after replacement, one question about durability. Durability up to 15 years, it is 95 success rate. And some cases, if the patient takes the same precaution, can be some cases living to 20 years durability. Thanks for all doctor attendants. Thanks for all people. Thanks for IMH Hospital. Thank you. Goodbye.